that. Hey, everybody. It's Stick Vet, your friendly neighborhood veteran. And I am messing with settings here. There, mute that so I'm not hearing my own echo. All right. I should be live on YouTube, live on Discord, and I couldn't get Facebook working, so I'm going to get that one going. This is the first Stick Vet Live episode, so of course it's going to be full of what am I doing here? Is this what I press? How's this work? Yeah. Yeah, super professional. Let's see here. Stick vet, all the stuff. Flip it around so it's seeing me. Put that right there. Go live. And now I'm live on Facebook too. All right. Everybody, welcome to Stick Vet Live. Sorry the lighting's crazy. I'm just making this up as I go, trying to figure it out. I was like, oh no, I need a light because it's already dark in here, and so it's gonna be a flashlight. Sorry if that looks weird. I'll definitely have to upgrade the lighting to not be like, oh, I'm telling spooky stories. This is Stick Vet. Yeah. Not exactly the effect I'm going for, but this will work. Now, where's my notes? All right. So I just did a video a week or two ago on the voices in my head, trying to start by going over the the complexities of dealing with our own mind. And before I can get into how the intricacies of the issues that we face as veterans, I just need to go over some basics of all the things that are going on in our mind. So I started with ego and fear as the first differential. Talk about uh, that they are assessment engines. These are your ways of figuring out the world around you. Fear is designed to tell you what is self-preservation engine, to tell you what to avoid and what to go towards as well. And then ego tells you how everything in life relates to you. And these are useful as much as they are mental processes that get in the way of doing what you want. And in a veteran's mind that has been manipulated through military training, we don't know what was done to us mentally when we get out. We just have to deal with the consequences of it. I remember when the first thing they taught me as a mental health specialist in training was the psychological manipulations that happened in basic training that I just went through. And it was like having your first hot dog and then going to a hot dog factory to work there. It was it, immediately learning how I was just manipulated. Never really kind of, it always stuck with me as something important. And now I realize it's because that's the most important thing that we don't know as veterans is, yeah, the military trained me to where I'm a lot different now. I'm a little screwed up and I think a certain way, but in what way? And how do you unravel that? So in Ego and Fear, I talk about how the military uses ego. And really, actually, as veterans, we can put fear in its place. We can differentiated from ourselves a lot easier. But ego is something that we used, not separated ourselves from. So in the comments of that, I got a question, and I always like to start with a little either something from Ask Stickvet on Discord or uh, someone who has something to say in the comments. This was Triumph 7x3 said, I've been struggling with ego, but I didn't know it was something separate from me and even what to call it. I have been struggling with thoughts of, as you put it, me against the world. I'm now forming a strategy to combat this thanks to your video. Keep them coming, and I can't wait to see the next video on this topic of voices in my head. The voices going on in my head have been negatively affecting me, my well-being for quite some time now. This information might make the difference. If you could touch on how to diffuse ego a little more, that would be great. Until I until now, I couldn't even tell the difference between fear and ego. So, as much as these are automatic processes that happen in the mind, and everybody's mind's a little bit different, and you think a certain way, that being said, ego and fear have a type of talk. Fear has a type of talk. It's uh, uh, always whining about problems. It's a little bit its job, right? But it also kind of has that attitude as we have to deal with episodes of fear. Fear goes to very ridiculous extremes in the ideas that it comes up with of why we need to avoid whatever it is. You know, it's never logical. It really isn't. You could One of the things I had to do on my path was combat my fears. And one of the first years that of the thing I had to do was take trails that I knew by heart and walk them at night with no flashlight. And even as a grown man, walking in the middle of the woods in the national forest, 50 miles away from society, I know these trails. This is one of my favorite spots, but just getting up and going out and doing it at night with no flashlight, I felt like a child the way fear was coming up with monsters that were in the darkness from every single scurrying little creature that was out there. And at one point, I remember one walk where something growled at me that I came across. I don't know what it was because it was dark, but my brain came up with all kinds of gigantic things that it was. And then I saw it like scurry across the trail and through the moonlight. And I was like, that is much smaller than you just convinced me that it was. But that's how it is. The maximizing language, the overgeneralization, the catastrophic thinking, that's all fear. It has an attitude, and ego does as well. Ego's attitude is mm, it also has a language. It uses a lot of should statements. It uses a lot of labeling. And a lot of labeling. Anytime you're coming up with labels for other people, no matter how justified or correct you might be, these are egotistical, judgmental accusations that are used to try and figure out the complexities of your environment. But that comes out as mind reading sometimes. Ego is supposed to tell me what the people around me may or may not be intending. But if you listen to that, ego is telling you what other people are thinking. This is mind reading. This is another cognitive distortion, which is a lot of what I'm going over. Minimization of how bad the issue is to maximizing how bad the issue is. Both of those are functions of ego. Uh, the labeling, assuming the most worst things all the way to catastrophic thinking. Um, the point of these is that these are types of negative thought patterns that have already been determined through psychology. They've been called cognitive distortions. They've been called cognitive dissonance or something. They give different dumb terms, and they categorize them slightly different sometimes into like but the point is that they are illogical forms of thinking that have a language and a not quite a personality to them, but an attitude based on their function. And because of that, you can start to learn the language your ego uses. My ego and fear uses a lot of catastrophic thinking. That's where I go to. But I've known people who it's all should, it's all what they think other people should do. And they get stuck in this shoulda, woulda, coulda kind of space. And these are all you can look up cognitive distortions. You can write down the different categories and pay attention. If you're doing the journaling deep into your mind of trying to figure out where you need to straighten out your thoughts, paying attention to your reactionary thoughts after situations, if you're able to pause in those moments and pay attention to what you're thinking, you can start getting an idea of what this language is. This is all to say that there are ways to, in the moment, pick up on the fact that your ego is running the show or it's fear that is telling you what to do about the situation. So, besides the language and the attitude of these automatic thought patterns in the mind, we also have uh, our reaction versus response. I don't know what to call it. A dilemma? No. This is the crossroads that you get to. Your brain is designed to react. And military training was all we don't want you to think about it. We want you to act a certain way. So when this happens, do that. And if you start wanting to do something else, shut that down, keep going. So we were trained to just do what your ego's telling you to do and go with it. Don't question it. It's really the opposite of what we're shooting for now. The reaction is not what you need to do as a healthy human being, but it is really important to do to be a good warrior. You don't want to stop and have to think. You need to react. So no matter how much you pay attention and recognize my brain's getting me into trouble again, or if you don't, either way, you still have this stopping point that needs to be established in that after years of reacting, you need to stop and learn how to respond instead. And it really is the difference between you assess the situation, your brain says to do what it tells you to do, and instead of just doing it for the sake of being a good warrior, you stop and, it's kind of a reassess. I used to say, or everything I think is wrong, or everything I'm thinking is wrong, just as a response, like, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. Oh, those people are, or everything that I'm thinking is wrong. That's also an option. And it gave me a little moment, I guess, is all it was to listen to everything my brain's telling me to do and say, "No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm 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 gonna respond. I'm definitely not gonna react anymore because my reactions are getting me in trouble. So, how do I respond?" And the key is at first, your response has to be a reaction. Unfortunately, it really is like, well, how do I, well, that doesn't make sense. No, no, no. Like if you're blowing up all the time because you're not able to take a breath and respond, then you need to actually react by walking away so that you can come back breaths later and respond. And so it's like, it's putting yourself in timeout so you can get to the point that you can be the one your brain is informing of all of this. And it's like if you were running a business and all your employees came to you with all the problems that are going on in the entire business, and they expect you to answer right now. But as a responsible manager, you need to walk back into your office and come up with a decision that has nothing to do with what they want you to do. You need to come up with what's the best decision for that business and not have the influence of everybody and their crazy issue. And that's the same as you and your own mind telling you all these ways you need to react and instead not take it into consideration. But we're going to take all that into consideration before we take action, and I'm not going to be emotionally reacting anymore. So stop reacting by creating a purposeful timeout reaction so you can respond. And the response is really uh, doing what you feel is right. You know, an hour later, I should have done that. Responding is getting to the wisdom of looking at the situation in hindsight in the moment and shortening that time between what you did and realizing what you wish you would have done. So I hope that helps in uh, creating a tool for diffusing as well as understanding some of this language of fear and ego. And I would like to end with a simple rule that I use to help me see if I'm reacting or responding. Okay? Cuz I've been I've walked away and come back and still just reacted. I just took a breath and then blew up later. It didn't really turn into a response. And so it's like, oh, I've had time to think about it. And I do want to shoot my mouth off. Like I've definitely still not done it right. But I realize that when I'm able to break away, when I'm able to try and see, am I about to just do what I feel is right, or am I succumbing to my volatile reactions? And it's the key rule that I use, I call the reasonable justification rule. Okay. So at any crossroads, at any decision, at any how should I handle this situation, at any major, I need to do it this way or that way. You'll have one option that you're pondering that's simple and has nothing really else. It's just a simple concept of what you could do. Or you could do this other thing and it has a reason. And then this other person said that this would also be a good idea. And there's this justifiable concept that really kind of, and besides, if you start saying all that, reasonable justifications, you're convincing yourself of the wrong thing. When you're using reasonable justifications, you're just twisting yourself back into reaction. You're picking the wrong path. When you do the right thing, you don't justify it. When you're making the right decision, there's no reason to do it. But the easy bullshitting yourself path, it's got all the reasons in the world. And so, if you're able to break away from reacting, that's the tool I use to be able to try and keep myself coming back and responding and not just reacting again. I will script this out and put it into a video soon talking about the voices in my head, and we'll keep going with different series. I'm going to check for comments for to see if anybody was chiming in on anything. Where's Facebook? Hey, thanks guys. I appreciate it. This has been I'm glad you're having patience with me as I'm learning how to do all this. Would you say there's a fine line between fear and being cautious? Things you used to do versus things you physically can't do anymore, no matter how simple they may be. Yeah, I mean, like fear and ego, but even with fear, it isn't, you know, it's not being cautious. It's a tough one. Are you being cautious or are you being cowardly? There's you have to make that call in the moment. Are you doing this to keep yourself from hurting yourself because you're learning how to not push yourself so far that you cause damage? That is a new skill of knowing your limits, and because those have now changed, and doing what is healthiest. But in general, uh it's more about understanding that fear has its purpose and when to put it in its place and when not to. So when you're running and you get to, I don't know when it is for you. For me, it's like pretty quick. I start getting the voice going. I need to stop. I hurt. Oh, it hurts. I have a pain in my guts, and wham. That voice is just going. And and you, to keep running, have to go, "Shut up. I'm fine. That's not real." And your brain will create a pain. It'll be like, "Oh, my knee hurts." Your knee doesn't hurt. It's psychosomatic. You will create psychosomatic pains that are fake. So can you trust the part of your brain that tells you when you're in pain and you have to be cautious and be careful? Kinda. You're supposed to, but on the flip side, it can lie to you and it could be lying about the pain. So, yeah, it is a fine line. And so in these skills, it's not so much ignoring and putting it out of your life or something like that. It's more the idea of doing what's healthiest rather than reacting out of fear. Look back down here. The whiny voice is universal. Yeah, there's a lot of things about these voices that are universal. It's weird that there is a standardization of of thought patterns that are clinically considered to be unhealthy. These are bad thoughts to have, and they've been relabeled multiple times, but that's been a thing in psych for like a long time, and yet we're never taught this. We're not taught as children. We're not taught uh, what these are until you've already had, you know, years of giving into those types of thoughts to the point that now it's like a long time addiction that you have to kick of listening to this. My catastrophic thinking still gets me into panic attacks. It's not like I figured out that that's the way that my ego really gets to me, and now it doesn't. No, it still gets to me. It's still it's your ego is as smart as you. So it can outsmart you as much as you can outsmart it, you know? Those guys that do the marathon running, I run, I get in that mental battle and I start winning, but that mental battle changes a couple miles in and I lose and I don't keep going. But there's people who can run for 20 miles doing that mental battle. So there's levels. There's levels of how much you can push this and dominate that aspect of yourself. And where is your favorite place to meditate? So I'll end on that because it's connected with everything. The ability to respond rather than react is directly associated with meditation. Meditation is your skill that is the exercise necessary to get mentally strong enough to be able to create a distance between your reactionary thoughts and how you want to respond, to where you don't have to walk away and come back. You can just do it in a breath, but that takes meditation, which would be the perfect next topic to get into because not only is meditation so much easier than you're probably assuming it is, if you were in the military, you were trained to meditate and you don't even know it. You're not using it anymore, and you have this skill you can tap right back into. Veterans don't know. They're already good at meditation. So, I'll see you in Stick Vet Live, where I teach you that you're already good at something you didn't even know you could do. And until then, this is Stick Vet signing off. And I have to press the other button right there. What? Yeah. End.